What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Clocks on the Stove. Usual host, myself, Grayson Fisher, co-host, Mr. Zach Watts. And with us today, one of the best safeties in college football this last season, great Dane Belton out of the University of Iowa. A little background on Dane. He was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. He attended Jesuit High School, where he saw time at receiver, corner, safety, and return man. Was a three-star safety in the class of 2019 and a very nice quality list of offers. We got Iowa, Pittsburgh, Bowling Green, Cincinnati, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Louisville, Missouri, Rutgers, Minnesota. It's a very nice list to have for scholarships coming out of high school. Took a visit to Iowa and Pittsburgh, realized Iowa was where his heart was, committed to Iowa. And through his 3-year career at Iowa, we have 112 tackles, 69 solo, 12 pass deflects, a sack, a forced fumble, and 5 interceptions, which actually tied for 4th most interceptions in the NCAA this past season. And very recently, Mr. Belton just declared for the 2022 draft. Dane, how are we doing today, my man?
Hey, I'm doing great and glad to be a part of this.
Yeah, glad to get you on, dude. So let's talk a little back step. So, coming out of high school, what was it that made you want to go to Iowa? Was that like something on your list the whole time, or was there something about them that grabbed your eye?
Not at all. They weren't a school that I had dreamed about going, and it was really just doing my research and my due diligence of trying to find the best school for me. And it came down to a few factors, and just one, the coaching stability. The head coach and the defensive coordinator who also coaches my position specifically have been there now like 23, 24 years, but when I got there like 21, and just knowing they're going to be there, and the history they have of developing guys, especially at the defensive back position, taking two star recruits and walk-ons and turning them into NFL caliber, DBs. So just that, and I wanted to explore the world a little bit. I had never seen snow before college, so just getting a different experience on that, and I felt like Iowa was the best opportunity for me.
For sure, man. Yeah. So to piggyback off that, being a Floridian, I've actually never seen snow either. How crazy is that? But
Yeah.
coaching stability, what you just said, that's something that's very mature, and you don't really hear that a lot. And we just had Elijah Higgins from Stanford on our podcast last week, and he was talking about these decisions young guys make when they pick their colleges. They'll jump the gun because they'll get all these crazy NIL deals, or like they'll buy into the hype rather than looking at something as like serious as that. What was that like one of the biggest factors for you when you were deciding on a school? Like what was it about that stood out so much to you?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest factors. And, just like that, you say you don't commit for a coach, and that's very true. But at the same time, you go to a school to achieve your goal. My goal is to ultimately play in the NFL, and to get there, I needed a coach who knew what he was doing, who had history of developing, and being able to get me in a spot to where I feel ready to go to that next level. And just knowing that there's a lot of coaches out there that can say they do that. There are a lot of coaches develop, but you never know if they're going to be there that year. They might get a better job, they might get fired. But just knowing that that coach at Iowa, Coach Parker, he's going to be there, and I don't have to worry about him leaving or anything. So I can be there, not having to learn a new system, year in and year out, and just developing, get better. So that was a big thing.
Speaking of like learning, I guess, different play schemes and styles when coaches are interchanged, did you notice like a big jump in play style change from high school to college?
Oh, definitely. You get the same, bigger, stronger, faster, but I would say more than that, it's mental. In high school, you can, as a talented player, you can play off just your athleticism and your abilities. But once you get to college, it gets more into like studying film and knowing opponents' tendencies and things like that. You can't just go out on the field and expect to be dominant just by your ability. So I would say that's the most difference. People always think it's just the physical abilities, but I would say it's more mental than anything.
Yeah, when we talked to Jordan Young, who you played with for a short time at Jesuit, he was saying that everyone talked about like the speed of the game changing, but he didn't think that was as much of a factor as he thought it was going to be. He said the playbook was what threw him off. He's like, in high school you have cover two, cover man, you have cover one man, cover two, cover three, cover four, and a blitz package. He's like, in college at UF, there's 15 ways to run cover two. There's
True.
15 ways to run cover four. He's like, it's like Madden kind of in a sense. Was that did you sense that same struggle, or was that something you were able to catch up on pretty quick?
Oh, for sure. I would say, that's the biggest thing, a difference in coming out of high school. And, that's how you get on the field early. I felt like my goal was to go in and play early. And so I knew that was, I'd have to know the playbook. That's first and foremost, the coaches has to trust you. So yeah, the playbook is deep. You have to know the ins and outs of every coverage and how to use it against different formations and things like that. So and that's what separates, really talented players from the, people who are like really good players. You can be just talented and not, get the playbook and you won't be able to play well. Because I feel like, the better you understand the playbook, the faster you can play when you're not thinking about like, oh, what am I supposed to do here? If you know it, you're gonna be able to play fast. So, like I said, that's the difference in college, that mental aspect. And, I feel like for me, it was I had to get down the playbook fast and I was able to do that and was able to play my freshman year.
So, at Iowa, you played a position which is referred to as the cash position. Now, two players before you, Amani Hooker and Geno Stone, both played that position and went on and are now playing in the NFL. What was it like stepping up after them and playing in that position? Were you kind of intimidated trying to pick up that role? Were you more confident to moving there? And what's it like playing the cash position?
I wouldn't say I was intimidated, but it was like, like I said, my goal was to come in and play. And I felt like that was a position that opened up, my freshman year, being able to go in and take have an opportunity to take that position. And I just want to get on the field. And when that opened up, I was like, let's go. I'm going to study this position. I'm going to learn the ins and outs and I'm going to get on the field. And so being able to do that, the catch position is fun. I mean, it's like you get to blitz, you play underneath coverage, you're around the box a little bit more, you get in on tackles, things like that. So it's really a versatile position where you're really called to do a lot of things. So, it's definitely a fun position. I really enjoy playing it.
Now, with those like big name guys, you talking about you want to get developed and be able to play in the NFL, which obviously you're getting the opportunity to do now. But when you were going there as a recruit and you were younger, or even in like your freshman year when you're still kind of feeling the dirt a little with your feet, was that something that really drove you to, is knowing that, all right, there's guys doing what I want to do at the school at the position I play, like being able to be surrounded by excellence. They always say iron sharpens iron. Was that something that was like, yeah, I can see the path. I can see that this success is built here, especially with what I want to do?
Oh, definitely. My freshman year, fall camp, I roomed with Geno Stone, and it was just like, you knew it was his last year, and just seeing him play, and we had a corner OJ, and we had a lot of NFL players on that team, and just being surrounded by that and being like a young buck, forced to, well, not forced, but playing alongside these guys, knowing you have to uphold the same standard they're playing at, that just raises the level of your play, and you have a standard, we had a team standard, and being able to play NFL alongside NFL players and for them to go on and knowing that, I'm gonna be on that next level, it's just a good feeling knowing, the team you play with, when you're surrounded by great players, it only makes you better. So
100%. Yeah, I'm a big preacher of that. Were you picking their brains apart? Because I mean, like, just to emphasize people that don't know, like, the Iowa secondary is not a joke. We're not talking about any college secondary. We're not talking about a good secondary. We're talking about the secondary that led the entire NCAA in interceptions this past season. We're talking about a team whose secondary was arguably the best in the country. So were you always constantly trying to pick their brains, trying to pick your coach's brains, trying to figure out, like, obviously something in that Iowa milk is making you all play better than everyone else, So like, there's got to be something that intrigued you or made you want to learn the mental aspect as well as the physical.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, my ultimate goal was to get to that next level in the NFL. And I know for me to do that, I had to understand the game more than I did. And, it was just, like you said, picking the brain of people who knew, like I roomed with Gino, my freshman year, and I was just asking him questions, about the playbook, how to do all this and that, at both safety positions, at the cash and everything. And, even people that I hadn't played with, like Amani, he left the year before I got there, even just texting him and guys like that helping me, and the coaches, like I said, the coach, he knows football, and for me to go in there and be able to develop under him, but just also trying to pick his brain and see what he thinks about certain offenses and tendencies and things like that. That's only going to elevate my game. I did that all 3 years. You can never stop learning, and I felt like I was in a great place to do that.
With all the learning that you were taking at the time, was there anyone at the position that you studied in college or maybe in the pros that you tried to build your game around? Like, was there anyone that you really looked up to as that player?
I wouldn't say I looked up to, a NFL player. It was more just studying the tape that we had built on that specific position because, there's a lot of nickels, in the NFL and things like that, but I wouldn't say anything that quite encompasses what the cast position does. And so it was usually, really just studying like Amani, especially, he was the first person to do that new position in that 2018 season and just seeing how he played things and how he saw things. And like I said, I text him all the time, just trying to pick his brain on small things just to get my game better. So that was really the person I really looked at to model the game.
Can you just real quick for everyone that doesn't understand, can you try to like explain what the cash position is specifically so they can understand a little?
Yeah, so it's I would describe it as a versatile nickel. So we bring in the cash when we're going against pass heavy offenses. So whenever we're going against a team who runs like 11 personnel, 10 personnel, a lot of receivers on the field, we want to substitute a linebacker for an extra defensive back. Yeah. But in doing that, sometimes the offenses will play games with the defense depending on position. So at the same time, at the cash, I'm covering receivers, but I could also be in the box, as a linebacker, depending on the formation. So it's really a versatile position that, has to cover slot receivers, has to play underneath zone coverage, but also has to, play in the box.
So was it kind of like a high school version strong safety, kind of like they bring you up if they need to run support, but they put you back for coverage?
Kind of. I would say, for coverage, I wasn't really back. I would just be in a slot, covering man or like, hook defender in 2 or, curl flat in 3 or things like that. But because like I also play safety, in our base defense. So, I got a lot of everything. And being in that cash, lets you play underneath coverage, lets you, match routes better and just playing instead of just playing like a deep half as a normal safety. So, I feel like it makes you versatile for sure.
Would you rather sit back in coverage or are you more comfortable blitzing the quarterback?
Oh man, I like to do everything. That's what I felt like. I was at my game in that cast position because I was able to do a lot of things and blitzing the quarterback is fun. Being able to get there and just hurry even if you don't get the sack, pressure him and get the ball out. You can force picks or force him to step up and someone else gets the sack. So blitzing the quarterback is fun. I feel like it's a part of my game and as well as zone coverage. Being able to match routes and read the quarterback eyes and get a pick. There's no better feeling than that, in football as a defensive back. So, I feel like, both of them are fun and, I enjoy doing everything.
Now, I'll tell you this right now, as someone that's personally played with Dane and also watched him his whole high school and college career, he's not very scared of contact. So when he's brought up, he's definitely not scared to drop a shoulder. I can tell you that from experience. But let's back up a little bit. So Iowa, as we talked about, our unbelievably talented secondary. Let's talk about Iowa, the school itself too. Like, do you remember your first visit going there and with the wave and every single game sold out and stuff like that? Like, could you step us through your first visit there? I'm assuming it was a home game.
Definitely. So I actually took an official visit in the summer. It was right when they started doing like early official visits. So it wasn't during the game, but my first official visit, I would say just landing at the airport and getting picked up by, one of the facility people, one of the managers or something like that. It was just a lot different. I've grown up in Tampa, a bigger city, and just landing there and, driving probably like 20 minutes to Iowa City where the university is. This is like a lot different. You see a lot of open fields and, like the stereotypical Iowa, thought or mindset, just grasslands, cornfields, things like that. But getting on campus, it was just, it was a great feeling. Even in the summer, there wasn't a lot of people there, but just the vibe around campus. And, it's not a huge spread out campus. So it's pretty tight. And, they love football players, they love football. And they always say like, there's no pro team. So they treat you like the pro team. So it's like all eyes on you. And, I felt like that was also a big thing going into the recruiting process. I wanted to play in front of, a fan base that really cared about football. You can go to like a school like a basketball school that, it might be a good football team, but the fans don't really care. I wanted to play in front of someone who really cares. So being in front of, in that city. And then I would say during my senior season after I committed, so I committed the summer right before my senior season, I went up for the Wisconsin game. I would say like late September. And we ended up losing that game, but it was just an electric environment, man. That was my first Iowa game, and it was crazy. Like you said, packed out, striped game. So like the sections were black and yellow. Man, it was just a crazy environment. And after seeing that, that just kind of verified, my decision. Like, this is where I want to be. I want to play football in front of these people. So, it was just crazy for sure.
Yeah, dude, you see it all the time. Like when they show like you'll see it when the upcoming season comes and they're doing like the pre-hype. Iowa's fan base is always in that video every single time. And you talking about the basketball. Yeah, you guys aren't a basketball school, but you guys are a very good athletic school. I mean, one of the best football programs in the country. I saw an article yesterday that said you guys were one of 5 teams in the entire NCAA that stayed ranked all, I think, 16 seasons of the AP poll. That's very good football. On top of that, unbelievable basketball program. You just had Garza, right? He just came out of there, went to the draft. And let's not forget the best wrestling powerhouse of all time to ever exist at the university. So was being surrounded by other good sports teams something that motivated you a little too?
Oh yeah, definitely. You kind of have that internal competition and just friendly competition, knowing like who's going to be have the better season. And you see those guys around campus and at the Jardine Learning Center where it's just for student athletes at Iowa, and you see them throughout there. Just that friendly competition and knowing that we're all working, we're all succeeding is a good feeling. You don't just want to go to a school that you're just good at football or just good at basketball. Having in that whole entire athletic program that is successful. That just shows that each team is working. Nobody's, I would say, better than the other. Like on campus, we're all athletes and we're all on the same level. So I felt like it was a good feeling for sure.
Did you ever get the chance to go to any of the other sports games? Like, were you able to see some other crazy environments outside of football that you really enjoyed or that you can remember?
Oh, for sure.
You went to one wrestling match. Please tell me.
I did.
All right.
I went to one, and it was one of the most electrifying like atmospheres I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a sold out crowd, obviously, but we were wrestling Penn State, and that's like another top 5, programming. Man, it was wild. Anytime it was like, when you're like watching football and like the fans like act like they know what's going on and they really don't. It was like everyone in there like they actually knew what was going on. Like when people were wrestling, and I'm not like, I don't know the rules of wrestling, but obviously I know like a pin or things like that. But it was like everyone in the crowd was so like locked into those games or those matches. It was ridiculous. I've also been to like basketball games for sure and things like that. So I definitely been out there to watch the other athletes.
Yeah, that's something that's really cool. Like, I just think it goes back to being surrounded by success, and it also shows you that the school cares about their athletics, because you have like Stanford, who when the COVID hit, they cut 11 programs, and you had all these schools that were cutting programs, and it's nice. I feel like from your perspective to know that there's stability there, like they care for us, like they're gonna do everything they can to fight for us.
For sure.
So yeah, let's talk. So we talked about why Iowa. Let's talk about your career at Iowa. What do you think about it? What were some of your favorite games? Some of the coolest moments. I mean, especially you played on a team that was ranked number 2 of the country at one point. What was that like throughout your 3 seasons or 4? Your redshirt senior.
Oh no, I was 3 seasons, and I mean it was great. Being able to play like you said football for a top 25 team. Year in and year out, and just being able to go out there and compete with something on the line. It's hard to go out there and play when your team's losing. You don't have a good team. You really don't have any motivation. But just being, going out gaming, the preparation we put in each week, and then for it to come to fruition on Saturdays, just having that feeling, making a play and celebrating with your brothers, on the field and having a crowd, roar, and, in your ear, it's just a crazy feeling. And like you said with the fans, like you're never going to go to a home game where there's nobody there. We might go to a couple of away games where they don't have a lot of fans or anything like that. But at home games, they're going to bring their stuff each week. So, being able to go out there and, make plays in front of them and for them to, cheer you on is a great feeling. And I would say, like, as far as games or like best moments, there's so many, to be had. And, just even my sophomore year when it was COVID, the COVID year, and we didn't have any fans in the stadium, just, being able to, finish the season the way we did on a 6-game win streak and beat Wisconsin, our big rival that we hadn't beat 5 years before. And, just doing that on a home field, together after losing the first 2 games of the season, that was probably one of the best feelings that, I've ever been in, and one of the best games I've ever played in, not just statistically wise, like just the feeling of, the ending of the season ended that way with, the seniors never being, was nobody on the team that beat Wisconsin, and for us to do that, and that was just a great feeling for sure.
You guys beat them this year too. I can tell you that as a Wisconsin fan. So. But yeah, man. So talking about your career, obviously, like we said, extremely good. Played on an extremely high level secondary. What made you want to declare for the draft early? What were some of the factors that made you, think like, all right, this is real deal. I can do this.
Mhm. Like I said, going into college, I felt like that was my ultimate goal, was to get to this level and have a long career in the NFL. And, I feel like after the season, I put myself in a position where I was even blessed to be able to think about this decision and be able to, be in this position. So, I felt like after the season I had, and, just all the other factors, like, you only play football for so long, and being able to capitalize on that, I play for the love of the game, but also, you have the ability to make money and create generational wealth. And you can only play football for so long. So being able to start that a year early, get the ball rolling and be able to have a successful career in the NFL, that's a huge thing. And just also, if I were to come back, one of the big pros would be to get my degree. I was slated to graduate in 3.5 years this December. And just knowing that even if I were to declare, I was going to come back, I already promised my parents I was going to come back and finish my degree. So, being able to, go to the NFL, my dream, but knowing that I'm going to finish school and get my degree, I just felt like, it was the right time for me.
Does Iowa honor that? Because I know some schools honor it and they keep it. Like if you go back whenever, they'll let you go.
Yeah, they do.
That's fire.
So you talk about the aspect of making generational wealth, just trying to provide for like not only yourself but your family. Do you feel like with the NIL deals coming on, that's going to help a lot of kids that might not get a shot at the pros to create a name and label at the college level now?
I think it definitely can, just being the first year of it happening this past year, people were still feeling their way out, in and out of things, players and businesses alike. And but the opportunity out there is big. But the only factor is, I would say for people that, might not get a chance to the NFL, it's like in college, the companies obviously want to go after the better players and the people with the biggest name, really. So, some people like, I would say the people who make the most money are obviously the superstars in college who will eventually go play. But there's a handful of people that is really just off like social media following or things like that, who like you said have an ability to make that extra cash while they're in college, get that ball rolling. And even if they aren't able to go to the NFL, they made a name for themselves in the marketing industry, and they have the ability to carry that out, even into the future. So I feel like NIL, it's a great thing for college athletes, and it's a great way for them to make money off their name. Because it when people like argued about it, they're always talking about like, oh, then the university has to pay them, and all regular people aren't getting paid. But it's really not even about that. The university isn't paying anybody. It's really just businesses outside wanting to get affiliated with these athletes. I feel like that's a great thing. And also for the players that do, get a chance to go to the NFL, it gets them started in that mindset. Because, the NFL is that way, but times 10. So being able to educate the players, before getting to that big level, that's a huge thing as well. So, I feel like NIL is a great thing all around.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, following that, what you thought about NILs. Obviously, now you're going to be a fan of it, but do you like the way it's structured? Like, do you think the way they're doing it right now is good, or do you think it's still in the working process and they're going to try to figure out like a more structured plan for it?
I feel like overall it's good. I feel like you said, there might be some small things they might have to work out, but I feel like, there was talk about like putting a cap, on player making, but I don't think they should do that, because I feel like each player has the ability to make, their own. And I made some money off NIL, but I didn't make the top, I wasn't in the top like 1% or
Like Bryce,
like 5%. Yeah. So, but like just knowing that, people have the ability to make money off their name, that's what they earn. That's what they put together since they stepped foot in, even in the high school, building that resume. So, I just feel like being able to make as much money as you can, because that's like the real world. What I mean? There's no cap on money you can make. So I feel like, right now it's in a good place, I feel like.
yeah, that's my thing about the cap. It's like, why are you going to punish me if I'm just because I'm better and more people follow me? You
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be punishing someone for being great, But at the same time, it's awesome to finally see you guys get the money you need, because like there's a lot of, obviously you came from a very good household with a very good family that raised you right, and like you guys were able to put you through Jesuit and do the things you need to do to help you succeed. But there's a lot of families out there that they don't have those opportunities that you had, and that other people have, and they go to college and they might not be able to play in the NFL, but this NIL deal, like say like a team deal, like I know at FAU where we go, the softball team got to deal with the Florida Panthers. So like, it doesn't matter if the girl's good or not. If she's on the roster, she's getting something from them, So like it is going to help people out. And it's like, if you're making this much money for the Big Ten network or for all these people watching you every week, like you should be getting something compensated, It's only fair.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like anytime you can, because like at the end of the day, that's your name, and being able to not profit off your name, I feel like that's like not right. So I feel like you said, I feel like there should be no cap, and just being able to be in that position, at collegiate level, if you have the ability to make money, why not? And I feel like those team deals are really cool. Like we never had that, but at Iowa my 1 year, but like you see it around the country, you see it on social media, and I feel like that's a cool thing to do. On the business side for that business to do that and just for the players to receive it, that's definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, they were so strict too, bro. Like you couldn't even get like in the summer and the off. Like, correct me if I'm incorrect, but it was like if in the off season, say your neighbor was like, Dane, I'll pay you $50 to cut my grass. You're done. Like you couldn't even do that. Like it was,
I think so. It might have been like that. I know if you did, because I know sometimes if you could get a summer job, but you'd have to report it, and they would like track like the money you make and make sure it's not like just people giving you money. It's like you actually earning it. But as far as like, it was just like you couldn't like sell an autograph or like if I had a game jersey, I couldn't sell that and make money before. But obviously now you can. So I feel like it was just things like that. Just anything involving like yourself in college, really.
well, I remember there was a Baylor running back. I want to say it was like 2012. It might have been like between 2011 2015. And I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he was at Baylor. And Baylor's policy is once you're done with your sophomore year, you can't live on the dorms anymore. You have to live out, but he couldn't afford it. So he was like couch hopping from his teammates' places. And the NCAA reported him and he lost scholarship to kick out of Baylor.
Dang.
Like that's ridiculous, dude. Like at least give him compensation to pay for his rent. Like
sure.
That's crazy. Yeah, that stuff like that is just absurd. Now we're talking about NIL, which is obviously on edge. Let's talk about the playoffs. Right? I want to know right now what you think of the current playoffs, and if you think there's a better way to do it, like as of like what it is right now versus what you think it could be better, or if it should stay the same.
See, I feel like that's a loaded question, and obviously you want to expand it, on the fan side, seeing more games and more the diversity of teams coming in and competing for that spot. But at the same time, people say, they complain about, the top teams being the top teams every year. But I feel like that's really like college football, the best team is going to win. And whether you make it 12 teams or, keep it at 4, I feel like, those teams are the best teams in the country. And, they might get upset, possibly, but 9 times out of 10, they'll be in that championship game as well. And, I feel like it's good to have bowl games, I feel like if you expand the playoffs, it almost turned into like the FCS level, how they have the playoffs, but that's it. The teams who don't make the playoffs are out. If you lose first round, you're out. But the way we have it, we have a 14 playoff and we have a lot of, big bowl games that mean something. And for teams that, might be ranked like 20th or like 24th to be able to play in a bowl and win, I feel like that's huge, just being able to, finish the season out strong and, win like a trophy, win a game, against a team you really don't play. I feel like, that's good in and of itself. So I wouldn't be opposed, for them to expand the playoff, on the fan side, you love to see those extra games and things like that. But, I really don't see a problem with the way it is.
So my personal, obviously, I didn't play Division I football like you did, but my personal, as a fan and as a sports journalist, following everything, I think you move it to 8. Okay, this is my if I got all control, like I got the god power of the NCAA. I'm going to tell you what I would do, and I'm going to tell you why I would do it. I'm going to move it to 8, but what I'm going to do is the 5 Power 5 champs automatically get in, regardless of your record, regardless of what happened. If you win the Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, or SEC, you're in. Okay, you're in. And then I do 3 outsiders. I do an undefeated AAC team or Mountain West, or San Diego State goes undefeated or whatever. They're in. Okay, Cincinnati, they're in. And then you do your 2 runner-ups. As in this year would have been like, what you had like a Georgia Bama runner-up, or even like Ohio State runner-up to Michigan, like something along those lines. So that's what I would do. That would be my top 8. Okay. The reason why I say this, I think 12 is too many. I think you can be a 3-loss 12 team, and I don't think you deserve to be a 3-loss team in the playoffs personally. 2 loss, yes, you can overcome 2 losses. You can have a slow start, like you guys said. You guys start off two wins or 2 losses, and then came back. You were a completely different team 6 weeks later than you were in the beginning of the year. And that's part of the sport is facing adversity and overcoming adversity. But by making it 4, I feel like adversity is no longer a factor. And what I think like this too is you make the 5 conference champions, right? That makes more emphasis in going Power 5. It makes it more of like a big deal, like oh look, like this, we deserve this. And on top of that, what that does is say you're like you're an Auburn or you're Oregon, who's always somehow the second best team in the division, right? Well, all right, look, I'm not going to win my conference this year, but if I have a really good outside of schedule and I win out besides the Alabama game and I take second in my conference, I'm probably going to get that 3. So what that's going to do is it's going to make, instead of Alabama or Auburn playing freaking Northwest South freaking University JUCO team, they're playing real teams because it means more now. And that's better for them and that's better for us, I feel like. I'm tired of watching 59-0 blowouts because, my strength of schedule is already there. No, it's not. It's not there. And I feel like it does more for the fans and it does more for the players. It also gets the players ready for a playoff format when they go to the NFL. The other thing is, I think you cut the 6-6 to go to bowls and you make it 7-5. That way, there's more of an emphasis on going to a bowl game, and every bowl game is more important. Obviously, like I said, this is from a fan's perspective that follows it. That's just what I think how they should do it.
Yeah, I feel you, that argument. But like I said, it's a little question because, even within all those things, like as far as like strength of schedule, with like a lot of big Power 5s, like even we do it, you have like 1 or 2, you would say cupcake games. And, the fans, like you said, you don't like to see that. Like when I was a fan, it was like, it was kind of boring. But at the same time, like for the way, college football is, those games really help those small schools because a lot of people don't know this, but those small schools get paid, like upwards of like $1 million to like, $1.5 million for that game. And so those like schools need that money for the program. So like at the same time, it's like, yeah, you want to see big teams play big teams, throughout the whole season. But, for the whole college football, those small schools need that as well. So like a couple games a season, like a lot of small schools play big schools for that. And I would say like, yeah, on the expansion, I do agree. Like with like 8 teams, that wouldn't be bad at all. I feel like that's still a lot of good competition in that playoff. It's not like you said, 3-loss teams that like, shouldn't really be in it, but they're going to have to play like Bama, round 1 and still get, blown out. I feel like that's a lot of good competition. And, I do see that, as a possibility, as a Division I player, being able to know that you can be an 8 team and still make it versus a lot of people don't expect to be in the top 4, if you're not like Bama, Georgia, teams like that. So, like you said, I feel like that puts an emphasis on players and teams to be like, let's push for this playoff. So, I do like that idea for sure.
Real quick, I know Zach wants to say something, but if we do the 8, this is what it would be. It'd be Georgia, Notre Dame, Alabama, Oklahoma State, Michigan, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Baylor. I think all 8 of those teams, you can't argue that they if there was a top 8, they all deserve, to be in there. I mean, 2 teams have 2 losses. 3 teams have 2 losses, and most of them were from a bowl game. So like,
yeah, that's some pretty solid matchups.
Yeah, and you talked about like the importance of playing for bowl games right now and before, and how like at the end of the day, because we don't have these bigger playoff formats, we have these such important games. But have you started to notice any changes, or like not have you noticed, but like how do you feel about players that are leaving early or opting out of bowl games? That, is it more of an injury thing? Is it more about protecting your future? Like, what do you think's the mindset going into someone that makes that decision?
I feel like it's definitely that, and I don't have any problem with it. At the end of the day, you play this game because, A, for the love of the game, and B, because you want to profit off, yourself. And, to like upwards of 3 to 5 years, the colleges, profit off you. And, before this past year, you're not making, barely any money. And even now, you're not making quite the same money as, the university is bringing in off your name. And, for people to say you're selfish for opting out of the game, I don't feel, that's right to say about someone, because if you put yourself in a position to be able to get drafted high and knowing that, this one game isn't going to change that. If you don't play, or if you do play, you're still going to be in the same position. I feel like if you're really that, highly touted, why play for certain people? And like you said, it's the risk to get injury, and it's happened a lot. A lot of players have been injured in the last game and been, dropped in the draft stock, and it hurts their careers, it hurts their futures. And for certain players, that's the biggest thing. And I would never knock someone for opting out of the game. I had, one of my best friends in college, my teammate in my class, Tyler Goodson, he opted out of this last year, or this last game of this year. And you can never knock someone for that. It's a personal decision. It's something they have to make, and it really doesn't involve you for to I guess just opinionate on them on whether they should or shouldn't. So I obviously did not opt out. I wanted to play. My last, if it were to be my last game with my team, which it ended up being, I definitely wanted to go out on that note. And I feel like it's a case by case basis, and I feel like we should let everyone make their own decision on that.
Did you know going into that game it was your last game?
I did not. So it's actually crazy. Like a lot of people, now that I declared, some people think I had, pre thought of this, at least in the middle of the season or before season, but I really didn't make my decision until probably a week after the game, or probably a week after the game. And it was like that game, obviously we lost the game, and just really following that game, I just sat down, the next week, just talking with my parents and things like that, trying to make the best decision for me. And I really try to hold it off during the season, because I wanted to focus on the season and focus on these games. So I really didn't think about it that much during the season, and it was really the week after that I really just hashed everything out and made that decision.
What was there like a moment that you could recall that was like the first time you thought about it, or was it like, did you go into the season like, all right, look, I have an opportunity to go to the NFL, or was there like a moment where your coach sat you down like, Dane, listen, these scouts are talking about you, or maybe someone hit you up? Like, what was the moment that was like, it went from a dream to reality, that you were like, all right, I'm actually going to start thinking about maybe leaving early?
I had thought about it before the season, like agents had hit me up, but, I knew it wasn't like gonna come to fruition very fast. I had a decent season my sophomore year, but like you said, I had no picks, things that people want to see as a DB. So I knew if I were to leave, after my junior year, I'd have to have a crazy year. And
What you did, let everyone know you did. Good year.
But just like coming into the season, like I knew it was a possibility. Seeing guys before me leave after 3 coming out of Iowa, and it's just like, but I never thought like, I'm definitely leaving after this year. What I mean? It was just like, if I play the way I need to, I have the ability to leave. And I wouldn't say there was a specific moment where I thought like, this is like reality. I would just say, each game I felt like I was getting better and better. And towards the end of the season, I was playing my best football, and I was like, I had a lot of agents hit me up during the season, and it was just like, I put myself in a position where I can make a decision at the end of this year. I'm not going to focus on that right now, but, I did what I wanted to do. So, yeah, I would say just, gradually it just kept coming and coming, and it really just happened.
So was there something in your mind that told you like I can play at the next level, or was it more so that like I feel like I've learned the most that I can from my coaches and from my teammates, and now I'm ready to put that to the test?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. I would say I never learned enough. I'll say I learned enough to be in a position where I can play in the NFL, but I never like capped that out. I feel like I never stopped learning. You never learn everything, especially in football, such an intricate sport. You can always learn something. So, I always feel like I can get better and learn something, but I feel like, I put myself in a position, like I said, to just be, like you said, put myself to the test at the next level. And, being able to be in front of, different coaches and learn even more stuff, that's the beauty of the game. So I would just say, like, I just felt like I was ready, mentally. I felt like I was in a position where, I felt like I could handle the next level, and I wanted to get there. It's been my lifelong dream, and, just not just to get there, but to play, a long career and a long, illustrious, profitable career. So, I felt like I was ready. I feel like it was time to take that next step.
I'm going to ask you a big NFL question now. You ready? If they sit you down on the combine, which I'm assuming you're going to the combine, I don't want to jump any guns.
I haven't got my invitation yet, but I think it's supposed to come late this week or early next week.
You're gonna get it. I promise you. I'll make it happen for you. They're sitting you down the combine. You're doing your questions, right? And they ask you, What's the one thing that stands out about Dane Belton over every other safety in this draft? What is your answer to that?
I would say I'm a student of the game, and just my love for the game just fuels me to go even more. Like what I was saying earlier, like you never reach a peak in your playing career, and I feel like you can always learn. I can always get better, whether that be technique or just mental aspect of the game. And I feel like that's what I really enjoy doing. I enjoy going into that film room and learning something new about, a team we're facing, or, just picking up on a tendency in it to come in the game and you see it and make a play. That's one of the best feelings as well. So I would just say what sets me apart is just the love of the game that makes me want to just study more and just continue to be better. I never feel like I settle for real.
So on the topic of the draft, is there any team that you would most look forward to getting drafted by, or a certain team that you would probably prefer to go to over any of the others?
I wouldn't say there's a team I prefer to go to. Like I said earlier, just my dream of being in this position is really just what makes it all worth it. And just any team that put trust in me and put faith in me to draft me and be a part of the team, I'll accept it with open arms. And obviously, I want to play for the Bucks
Yeah, I
just a
was
little
about to
bit.
say, let's be honest now.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, hometown team, you love to come home and, play in front of, your childhood friends, all these people, but at the same time, if there's any opportunity I can to play in the NFL, I'm gonna jump at it. So, I wouldn't, if there were a team, it'd be the Bucks just because the hometown team, but, just the opportunity to play in the NFL is really all I need.
Yeah. Um, is there any schemes that you've seen from pro teams that kind of use the Iowa style of defense that you've watched either from watching games or like your coaches have shown film as an example of?
Yeah, there's a few teams that that run the same scheme we do, like the quarters coverage. I know the Broncos do. Well, they did just fire their head coach, but I know before they did, and we had a corner that went there in the third round 2 years ago, Michael Ojemudia. So just there's a few teams that play that similar scheme, and I feel like if I were to go to a team like that, I'd be well suited just having run that for the past 3 years. But at the same time, if I were to go to a new scheme, I feel like it's basically starting from day one, and I like that. I want to, like I said, I want to learn more football, and if I were to learn a new scheme, it's going to put me in a position to do that. So I feel like wherever I go, I'm going to be in a position where I got to study the playbook if I want to play, and it's going to be a whole new challenge. Like these past couple years at Iowa, I had the playbook memorized, and it was really more steady in tendencies. But now, going into the NFL is going to have to be like square one again. So just being able to be in a new facility with a new team is a great feeling for sure.
Is the location of a team something that concerns you, or not concerns you, but something that makes you want a team over another team? Like what I'm trying to say is, like, is distraction something that you're thinking about? Because you hear it all the time. Giannis talks about he wouldn't be the same player in LA that he is in Milwaukee because he has so much. There's less distractions to keep him focused to basketball. Do you feel like that's that way, or you'll be comfortable wherever you go?
I feel like personally, I'd be comfortable wherever I go. Distractions is a big thing for a lot of players, and it's something you have to learn how to manage. And I just feel like for me personally, a lot of distractions are really like knocked out just by the person I am. Coming in Iowa, you kind of had to learn that my freshman year. Being away from home, being living by yourself, things like that. You have to learn how to handle these distractions. But like personally, like I'm a homebody, so like I stay in the house all the time. Like I rarely go out. I like if I work out, come home, get on the game, chill. Like I have a girlfriend, so I don't have to worry about any things like that. So I feel like as far as distractions, I feel like I can handle that. I've done a good job these past 3 years, learning how to manage those things. And my mindset is going to be on, getting on the field and playing at a high level wherever I go. So, it's really those things that whatever gets in that way, I feel like that's not for me. So I feel like wherever I go, I think my mind was set will be right.
Is this a Tampa girlfriend or Iowa girlfriend?
Iowa girlfriend. So I met her at the university, but she's from the Twin Cities.
Okay. So does she have a preference to where you play?
She doesn't, she's I feel like she's helps me keep grounded just knowing that like she supports me, she's a big part of my support system, on top of my parents and brother and things like that. And just she really doesn't care where I go. She just wants to see me be happy and wants to see me, doing what I love. So, wherever I go, I feel like she'll be there, coming to games and things like that whenever she can. But, I feel like, she really doesn't care exactly where I go.
Hell yeah, man. We love that sport. You hear it all the time. Oh, I'm sorry, Zach.
I was just gonna say, speaking of like support systems, like how much of your decision was more of a personal choice as it was like towards your family? Like, did you make the decision more so that you could move on, or so that you could help your family right away?
It was really a personal decision. I feel like my parents, are great parents. They put me in every possible situation I can to be successful at the best of their ability. So, knowing that they didn't need my help, they don't need me to, go to the league and help them. I feel like everything they do is for the betterment of me and my brother, to make us the best, human beings we can. So it was really all personal decision. I feel like they were gonna support me any decision I made, and they were just there to help me through the ins and outs and every pros and cons and things like that. So it was really just a personal decision, at the base of it.
So gonna back up a little bit, go back to the actual playing at Iowa. What would you say was the best atmosphere that you played in, home or away? What was like the one that you'll never forget? What would you say was the absolute worst, the one that you'll like, damn, I never want to play in that atmosphere again?
So I'm gonna start with the worst one because I do want to end on the best one. So
Okay.
the worst one, the worst atmosphere is. So I don't want to bash nobody, but I would say it's got to be Northwestern. Just like the just the state, like the stadium's cool, is right close to the water, in I think Evanston or somewhere around Chicago. But it's just like the fans, they don't have a lot of fans that come to the game. It's just like my freshman year we played out there and we had more fans than they did. So and it was like half the stadium was empty. So that was probably the worst. Like it has like really thick grass, so it's like hard to cut and things like that. You get stuck a little bit. So I would say that's the worst atmosphere. Just as far as teams we played. But I would say the best was definitely at Iowa when we played Penn State this past year. The stadium, but I've never heard a stadium go more wild. Like it was so crazy. We had them backed up. They had like 3 false starts in a row, like back to back to back plays. It's like they couldn't hear anything. The crowd, like I couldn't hear anything. We just like on defense, we're doing hand signals. We can hear like people next to us, and we're just like we're pumped. Like we definitely feed off that. And for them to get that, and we just kept backing them up and getting tackled for losses, like they couldn't hear anything. And that was one of the most craziest like environments I've ever played in for sure.
So that was definitely without an argument top 10 game this season was when you guys
Oh
beat
yeah.
Penn State. Unbelievable. Does that when you're in that position, like you feel the crowd and everything, like how are you feeling there? Like when it's getting so loud you can't even hear yourself breathe, like that's gotta be something that just gets you going.
Oh, definitely. Especially like on third downs, when you have a chance to get off the field and make a play and the crowd is going crazy. It's just like you get that extra sense like, man, this is college football. Like this is what I like came here to do. And just being able to be in that situation, with fans that really care and that really like have an impact on the game for sure. Like you see, like they couldn't even hear the cadence, and like for a team to have that, fans like that is crazy. And that matchup, like you said, like top whatever game, that was like a 3 versus 4 matchup, and that was one of the craziest games I ever played in for sure.
So speaking of like that intensity and like especially that adrenaline rush you get from the fans, how are you able to recreate that or keep that same level of intensity during the COVID season? Because I know when the fans aren't there, there's a lot of different changes to the game.
Mhm.
Like I know from a fan's perspective, it's a little weirder because like you can actually hear the hits a little more. I know we talked about this last week, but like the fans being the 12th man in a sense. It's like, how are you able to keep up that same level of intensity?
Like you said, it is a lot different, and some teams try to pump in like fake noise, and it was just weird because you hear like noise, but there's no one there. And it was really just, at the end of the day for me, it was like, man, I'm playing football and at a high level at a big collegiate program, and this is what I dreamed of. So like, let's go make a play. And it was really, it has to come down to, the 1-2, internally, like you said, you don't really have that hype coming outside from like fans or things like that. So when you're on the field, everybody has to bring their own intensity, bring their own, juice. So it really for me just came down to like, I love this game and like this is what I want to do. I want to make a play. Like I love to do that. So let's do it, like regardless of the fans. And to be honest, like in between a play, you don't hear the fans. It's really like, or like while the play's going, you don't really hear the fans. Like in between is when you really like hear them. So like in the COVID year, like once the play going, like it really didn't matter. You were locked in on your keys and locked in on what you were supposed to do. So in that sense, it wasn't that hard to kind of, feel your way through that season.
True. So we talked a lot, like we said, we talked to Elijah Higgins last week, and one big thing we talked with him about was, so he's wide receiver at Stanford. He said the strategic aspect of not having the fans made it like kind of a different game of football. Could you agree to this? Like, could you say like it strategically changed the game a little bit, not having that 12th man or not having those people there?
I feel like you can definitely say that. A lot of times throughout games, you ride the ebbs and flows, and when you get the crowd going, like if you're come from behind, you made a few really good plays. That crowd puts a little more intensity in the game, and you start to play better. So you had to learn how to play without that. You had to learn how to play like true football with no like momentum swings for real. Like you might have a pick, it might be a momentum swing, but it's not the same momentum swing as when you have, 70, 80, 90,000 fans, screaming and like getting in the ear of the other team. So, you had to know how to really control like playing without, that extra intensity coming. And it really helped like on the road too. Like teams that have really crazy environments. Like my sophomore year, we played Penn State at Penn State. That's like the second biggest stadium, something like that. And they go crazy with the whiteouts, but like there was no fans. So like being able to, have a calm game on the road for like our quarterback or our offense, it definitely helps. So, it's definitely a lot different for sure.
He was saying it was also, sorry, Zach, real quick.
You
He
good?
was saying also strategic because their offense, when it's like a big game and they can't hear, they have to do more like signals, which then can be studied on film and stuff. Versus when there was no one there, they could be verbal, which he said was like much better for their offensive plays, as well as it was a lot harder for defenses to figure them out because they couldn't study calls. Was that something you also could support?
Oh, definitely. We feel like anytime we came off the field, whenever we get a stop or anything, we're just talking amongst each other. Like, did you see that hand signal he did and what route he did? So like next time we're looking for that. And that's definitely something you pick up on, as you become a student of the game and when you get, more game reps, that's something you're able to pick up on. And just being able to see that and knowing that, they couldn't talk. So we're getting like, extra signs that, they're not showing everybody else. And that really just adds to, the game that you're being able to play and allows you to play faster for sure.
Was there anything? I know we talked a lot about the benefits, especially for you and on your side of the ball. Was there any drawbacks that came from quieter environments? Like, was there anything your defense had to change, whether it be audible calls or like switching to hand signals, even with no noise, or were you still just like fine throughout?
I feel like we were fine throughout, as far as the defensive side. Like, anytime we're playing at a away stadium, they're a smart crowd is going to be quiet for their offense. So, we were used to, that thing like able to communicate, whether that be verbal or hand signals. We have different hand signals for like different calls and like maybe two for one call, things like that, just to switch it up. So, like you said, teams can't really pick up on that, very well. So, I feel like we were suited for either, whether that be loud environments or quiet. I feel like it was really just communication, and it really came down on defense. If we're on the same page and everyone's doing their job, we'll be successful. Like whether the other team knows, what coverage we're in or not. I feel like if we do exactly what we're supposed to be doing, that we'll be good. So I feel like it really came down to that.
Now, sorry. Was there a game that you were like in particularly nervous for that throughout your 3 years that you were like, wow, like there's a lot of pressure, like any aspect at all that you remember you were like a little extra nervous for a certain game?
I really can't recall, a game I was extra nervous. And it's really crazy when people ask if I get nervous for, the games. And my answer is really no. Like, I never really got nervous for a college game. And it's really crazy that I tell people I was more nervous for high school games than I was for college games. And I felt like it was because, like, who's in the stands in high school. Like, you can hear the distinct voices and things like that. But in college, it's like, you really can't pick out a certain person. You don't know, like, who's where and things like that. You're just going out, you're hearing a collective roar from the crowd and you're going out to play football. And I feel like, like I said, that's what I dreamed of. And I feel like, from my first game playing my freshman year, it wasn't, I really didn't have much nerve. It was just like intensity and like, I'm ready to play.
You think it's also a dependency thing? Like knowing when you were at Jesuit and you were in high school, they really depended on you every single game to ball out. Like if Dane was cold, we're not winning this game. Versus at
Yeah.
Iowa, like yeah, you're still a huge key factor. I'm not trying to take that away from you, but there's also not as much of a dependency on you because your team is still so good. Was that a factor as well?
I definitely think so. Knowing that just like in high school, you played alongside really good, like you played alongside good players, but it wasn't like, there was definitely like some levels on the defense or like on the team of like good players, okay players, and like people you don't want on the field, to keep it honest. And when you get to college, it's like when you're on the field, you're playing alongside guys who deserve to be there and have put in the work and like are gonna make plays. You don't have to you don't have to like think if someone's gonna do the job in college. Like you trust your teammate, like he's gonna do what he's supposed to do. So I don't have to like make up for it. But like you said in high school, like sometimes like I'd be out of position, like feeling like I gotta make up for someone else, things like that. So I feel like that definitely is a factor.
What do you think? Well, you talked about being nervous or not being nervous. I'm sorry. Do you think what changed was like your mental fortitude and who you were as a player? Like, like oftentimes we say the only reason we're nervous is because we're afraid to fail. Did that like go out the window when you got to college? Did you become more like secure in who you were as a player, or what kind of like mental changes did you make to like not be nervous in those situations?
I definitely think it was like that. I just felt like my confidence level was a lot higher, knowing that, I came in and did what a lot of people couldn't do, being able to start my freshman year, and just being able to go in there and earn that position. I felt like my confidence was there, over, before, and just feeling like, I deserve to be there. It's not like I said earlier, like I wasn't just dependent on my abilities and my athleticism, I had that, but also I had, the study I did in the film room that whole week before. And just that mental, mindset that like I know what's gonna happen. Like I know I'm gonna go out here and make some plays and play the best of my ability, and I'm confident I'm gonna do that. And I feel like that was what changed, coming in my freshman year.
From the other end, though, so we talked about the nerves. Were there any games you were particularly excited for during your 3 seasons that you were like, damn, I'm really about to play in this game?
It was just really any game. There's so many opportunities out there. Whether you're playing a small school or a big school, and obviously, you have those really big games and season openers and things like that. So there's definitely a lot out there where I would say like probably the first one was my freshman year. Obviously the first game I played in or I started or had a significant playing time was against Purdue, and but after that we had Minnesota at home, and they were on 8 or 9. They were 9-0, just beat Penn State. They were 8 in the nation, and we had 2 losses at the time. And so we were like, everyone was counting us out, and it was a night game, and like we beat them, and that was probably like the game you're looking forward to, like first time undefeated team for me, undefeated team coming into our house, and like they were talking about the playoffs for them or Big Ten championship, and for us to like end that conversation with a huge game, that was like going in that week. We were like we got to be on our A game, and that was an exciting game for sure.
Now I want to change direction a little. I want to talk to you about what's happening right now in the NFL playoffs and get your opinion on what's going on. So we got Bengals, Titans, and 49ers, Packers on Saturday. What are we feeling? What are we feeling in this game, Stan?
It's hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers, and I feel like the Packers are just a really good team, and it's like you look at them, they don't have like any like obviously besides like Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, things like that. They don't have any like top, NFL top 10, top 15 talent and things like that. But they just seem to pull it out, and they have really good coaching. They play really well together, and I feel like they'll be able to do it again. But the 49ers are a really good team, really good coach as well. They have really good defense, D line, things like that. So it's definitely going to be a good game.
Bengals,
Is
Titans.
there any
I'm sorry, Zach.
like is there anyone that you've watched in the playoffs that you either played against or played on your team that like you were really shocked by to see him at that level? Like not like surprising like a bad way where you're like, wow, they're playing on the field, but like that made you realize like I played against him. I know what he does well. I know I can compete at that level.
Oh yeah, for sure. You see a lot of like for me, like people I go against, a lot of receivers that have been in the league, these past couple of years. And it's like, I played alongside, like I made plays on them, and them being there and making plays in the NFL, just, it builds my confidence knowing that, I feel like I'm ready to, make that next step and make plays. So, I definitely see a lot, especially being my just finished my third year. I had 2 years before, people I played against being in the league. So, you definitely see that.
So moving on from that, Bengals, Titans. So we got you got Packers over 49ers.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna also go off that. I want to hear Zach too. I'm gonna also go Packers over 49ers, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't be that amazed if the 49ers pulled it off. I really wouldn't be.
I wouldn't either, but I feel like the media and just like people in general will be, because
Mhm.
I feel like they don't understand, like, the 49ers are a really good team. So, like you said, I wouldn't be shocked because, like, just the way they play and, like, the toughness they play with, they definitely have the chance. It's not like it's like 100%, Packers win. It's like the 49ers have a real shot to do it for sure.
Yeah, but I just think that they're just choke artists, man. Like, they do it all the time. Zach, what do you think in the 49ers Packers game?
It was actually interesting because I was on Twitter and I saw this stat before the 49ers played the Cowboys, and they've only had 3 games this year where they've let up more than 274 passing yards. And it wasn't to Aaron Rodgers the first time, and it wasn't some of the top names. It was to Jared Goff, and I think Matthew Stafford another time. So, I mean, I guess that's a credit to San Francisco's offensive game plan, because when you think of them from the defensive side of the ball, they don't have the best DBs, but how they're able to control the clock, keep the game close. I think that's the key to beating the Packers. You cannot let Aaron Rodgers get the ball and have as much time as he wants to score. You got to try to limit his possessions, force him to make a mistake on like 1 or 2 drives. I mean, it's the playoffs. Anyone can win. Obviously, I still think the Packers are going to win, but 49ers do have a chance as much as people want to discredit them.
I honestly agree with that, though. I feel like if the 49ers cannot go into a shootout, if they go into a shootout, they're done. They're donezo. They got to keep it like a 14-10, like a 13-10 halftime. Like, they got to keep it low scoring. Because I feel like it's best for them to keep it a 1 punch and then coast it into the 4th and then get that 1 punch. But I don't think there's no shot if it goes into a gunsling that Garoppolo is going to hang in with Rodgers. There's just no way. They don't have the tools. They have so many. There's just no shot. They got to keep it
Not
close.
Jimmy.
I think so. Let's go on, Dane. What are we thinking about the 10-7 Bengals and 12-5 Titans?
Man, I love the way the Bengals are playing right now. It's really like just the excitement and the electricity they have on offense with those weapons, and obviously Joe Burrow doing his thing. And I feel like the defense is playing a lot better, than they were earlier in the season. And I feel like, I don't know, but at the same time, the Titans are a very well-oiled, machine. They play well together. Their defense is ridiculous. They have the number 1 safety, Kevin Byard. They have my boy Amani Hooker back there too. And they just, I don't know. I kind of want to go the upset and say the Bengals, though, just from just the way they're playing lately, and the way they're just moving, and just the electricity they have together, on the offensive side. I feel like I got to go with the Bengals.
Do we know if Derrick Henry's back for this game?
He has to clear practice protocols, but everyone's saying
they're gonna clear him though.
He's getting 20 to 30 touches.
So my thing is the Titans are like the king of choking this year, but so are the Bengals, dude. Like both of these teams at one point in this, like there's been a game this year where they both played where you're like, they're the best team in the NFL. Like there's been a point for both the Bengals and the Titans. And then they've also both lost to the Dolphins, or like to somebody horrible. It's like the thing is though, is like the hype train, man. Like Joe Burrow's got the Bengals believing. They really believe they support him. And that, as you know, firsthand experience, that's a very key factor, especially in a game of this caliber. There's so many questions. I feel like it's so hard to pick this one, especially because it's like Derrick Henry comes back. How do they stop him? Is he healthy enough? Is he going to be fine? Like, there's so many factors. You cannot. Tannehill is not going to win them the game. He's just not. He's not that caliber guy. I don't think he can do it. I really want to say Bengals. Like I really want to say it. I just don't think they're going to do it, especially if Derrick Henry's back. And it's at the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it's definitely, it's a toss-up. Really 2 good teams that, like throughout the season, they've had those games where they're like, man, they can make a Super Bowl run. But, I feel like just the way the offense on the Bengals is playing, I feel like it's like the 49ers Packers game. If it gets into a shootout, the Titans can't hang with the Bengals in a shootout. So it's really just like the Titans have to play like the 49ers, even though they're technically the better team. But it's in that realm of games.
Yeah, but I could also see the Titans just grinding out a 21-0 lead, just gassing the defense.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Titans, I feel like their whole team is kind of built around Derrick Henry. Like I know they went and signed Julio in the offseason, and I mean, bearing injuries, like he hasn't been the player they thought they'd be, or they thought they'd get out of him. But I mean, the Bengals are dealing with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, especially. I mean, I know they got a really good secondary. Jesse Bates, I believe, going to be playing in the game. So, I mean, that's someone you can count on the defense. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you know what they're going to do. You know you're going to get 20 to 30 carries out of Derrick Henry. It's all about, can you stop him? Because I'm a firm believer in Joe Burrow now. Like, whatever doubts I had about him coming out of college, like, that man is Joe Burrow. He's got Jamar Chase, and there's literally nothing to stop. Like, what he did last week with Jamar Chase, like, it was literally like playing Madden and just picking out your favorite receiver with an X factor and going after him every time. Like, I don't know what else you can do.
Who you got?
Still Titans. I have to.
I mean, just hyped up Joe Burrow over 5 minutes.
He's gassing the Bengals like Titans.
Yeah.
Like, I got to be real
for sure. I think the best game though is the next one is the Rams Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best. That's like Super Bowl caliber game in my opinion.
See, if I were gonna pick game of the week, you got to pick the Chiefs Bills, because I don't give a shit about the defense. It is literally going to be 60-60 at the end of the day. Like I love watching good defensive football games, but like from a fan perspective, like when it comes to playoff football, get people hyped. Like, you got Josh Allen, who literally dropped a 50 burger on the number one defense. Or did they drop 50 or just under? I turned off the game. I didn't care.
They scored a touchdown on every single drive until they kneeled the ball. No punts, no turnovers, and no field goals.
Yeah, and that's on the number one defense. And now you're going up against the Chiefs, who it's Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Like, it's going to be an amazing game.
All right, so let's go to that one first. Bills Chiefs. Who you got, Zach?
You know, I don't feel like the Chiefs are the team they were. I know it's kind of crazy to think about, because last year you look at them.
It's at the Chiefs.
Yeah. You look at the Chiefs last year, and the only reason they didn't win the Super Bowl is because they had their O-line go down and they could not protect Patrick Mahomes. They completely fixed, of course, Tom Brady. But you look at that, like what they did failure-wise as a team, like all they needed to do was stack up on defense a little bit and fix your line. They have one of the best lines in the league now, yet we're still considering them the top or the favorite. But I have the Bills winning this game. Like, Josh Allen is playing his best football. He's like either top 5 or borderline top 5 playing right now. Like, it's really hard to stop, especially with their offensive coordinator, the way they're running the RPOs. They're running really fluid football. I really don't see how the Chiefs can slow them down.
So you're going Bills?
Yeah.
Dane, what are we thinking, Dane?
Bills.
Thank you.
Let's hear it. Let's hear why.
The Bills are playing such great football right now, like total team football. Like you said, like last week, scored a touchdown on every single possession until the end. Defense, turnovers. That's what, wins games. You got to make plays on defense. Got to create turnovers. They're doing that. The Chiefs, I feel like they're not playing like kind of what, Zach was saying. They're not playing the same game of football they have in the past year or 2 years. And I feel like just the way the Bills are functioning as a whole team, I feel like the offense is unstoppable. They have weapons that aren't even like getting the ball that much. Like Stephon Diggs only had 60 yards last week, and they still blew out the Patriots. And if they need to, they have so many playmakers on that team that can step up and make plays. And I feel like, the Bills are rolling. I feel like I just think the Bills are going to win for sure.
I think when you look at this game, it's one of those – how do I say this? It's one of those games where it's like statistics and on paper kind of goes out the window. Because, on paper the Bills are way better. They're doing stuff statistically way better. But there's an unfollowable factor when it comes to playoffs. There's a heart and there's a passion and there's a momentum that you can't track with stats and you can't track with facts. And when it comes to the playoffs, the Chiefs perform. I hate when like in the season when like a Tom Brady or the Patriots or the Chiefs aren't doing too good and everyone's like, oh, they're not. It doesn't matter. When it's time to perform, these people and these teams perform. So I really want to go Bills, okay? But I do think that there's just an X factor of playoffs when the Chiefs play that they don't lose. We saw it last year. They had a tight game. They murked the Bills, and then they had a tight game with the Browns. So I think that in it being a Kansas City dude, like I really don't know, man. if I had a gun to my head and I had to pick a team, I think I'm going Chiefs. I just think that the home atmosphere, Patty Mahomes, Andy Reid, and most importantly, the experience, the being there. You know, we talk about that. That's a big thing as an athlete, is being there. You talked about it. One reason that got you excited about going to Iowa to play in the NFL was knowing that there's guys that where you're at, they've been there.
Mhm.
The Bills haven't really been there. You know, they just broke their playoff drought, last year, the year before? The Chiefs have been there multiple times. So there's a comfortability aspect to it as well. I think that experience might help. I think it's the Chiefs are going to edge out the Bills. I also agree, though, it's going to be a shootout. It's not going to be good defense.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
I will say though, if you're the Chiefs, the last thing you want was to be on a bye week, and now you got to play the red hot Bills. Like, you're playing a team that like yeah, bye week sounds good. Like, you get to rest your players. If you had any injuries, guys get to come back. But I mean, I feel like from a player's perspective, I would have much rather been the Bills and played that extra game and beat not just beat anybody, you beat a playoff team and your divisional rival, and you wax them. You literally just told them to get off the field. Like, I do not think there's a hotter team in football walking onto that field. I think, what do they play, Saturday? And then the other two, or do they play Sunday? They're the Sunday game?
Yeah, the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
They are the game.
Damn.
I like what you said a lot, though, and I can from a talk about Dane's experience of being a D1 athlete. I can talk about that from a wrestling perspective. I hated getting a first round bye. Hated it. I'd way rather wrestle a scrub that I knew I was going to kill first round than a nobody, than not having a match, because I hated that coldness. You know, even if I wrestled a kid I'd beat in 30 seconds, I got a sweat, I got nerves, that was comfortability, I was able to get out of the way. Versus if I get a bye and I get a second round kid, I'm coming off no match and I'm wrestling a kid that just came off a win. You know, and that's definitely a perspective and mental factor. I feel like you can definitely agree to that as well, Dane.
For sure.
That's definitely a momentum thing. Now, going back to the game I want to talk about, the Rams-Bucks. Dane, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, so being a Bucks fan, this is a game I'm actually worried about, and because of a few things. Obviously, we lost to them earlier in the year, but the thing is, I'm not really worried about that game because both teams are two totally different teams now. I feel like the Bucks have lost a few people, but at the same time, we have Tom Brady. We have a defense that's starting to play well again, towards the end of the season, getting people back on the defensive side. But it's the way the Rams are playing, as of late. That last wild card game, that just showed, like we were talking about the Bills, the weapons they have that they really haven't, used that often. OBJ coming back, spazzing, that off Stafford, obviously Cooper Kupp, the Triple Crown leader for receptions, yards, and touchdowns for receivers. They just have so many weapons that for a young, primarily young defensive back core for Tampa that has been hurt, throughout the season and is trying to get people back. That's the scary thing I'm worried about. I'm obviously not worried about Tom. He's going to do what he has to do. He's the GOAT for a reason. But it's just those weapons they have on offense. So to come for a prediction, I'm a little bit biased, obviously. So it's not really like a very confident prediction, but I think the Bucks will pull it out just because obviously I'm a fan, but also just Tom Brady, being able to facilitate not only the offense, but that the ball control in the offense controls the game. And I feel like if the Bucks can control that, they can control the game. And Tom Brady's going to spread the ball around no matter who's out there. People say, like, who's he going to throw to? He's going to throw to whoever's out there and whoever's going to get open. So I feel like on that aspect, I feel like the Bucks will win.
So real quick before I go in and I give you my explanation, Dane, what are your thoughts on Cooper Kupp's season this year? What do you think about him as a football player?
He's ridiculous. And the only thing I don't like about him is that I didn't get him in fantasy because he absolutely murders it. Like, it's ridiculous. And just the knowledge he has of the game too, that a lot of people don't realize, is like that's what really gets him to where he has to be. It's not that he could just he can shift people in the routes and get open, but it's just like he knows where the spots are and what the defense is playing, and that just elevates his game. And man, he's a really good player for sure.
So when he was in college was when I first started really following college football. And I've always been an FCS nerd because I feel like, there's a lot of FCS guys that don't get enough love that, maybe just because of the school they went to or a certain circumstance, they're not playing the Division I football they should be playing. But he was there with Burden Adams, who was the quarterback, and all those guys. And I remember watching him then and I was like, dude, this white kid is nasty. He is shifty. He's good. And he got no love, dude. He got no love coming out of Eastern Washington. And I would say besides these last 2 years, no one talked about him at all. he really got no love. And he's a living proof of, like you said, being a student of the game and being patient. He didn't rush. He didn't complain. He worked, and dude, it's paying off for him. And my roommate the other day tried to say he wasn't a top 10 receiver, and everyone slapped him. We're like, shut the fuck up.
Wow.
Yeah, you're crazy. But going on my opinion of the game, so I think it's really – so I'm a huge Bucs fan from Tampa, but I'm also a huge Sean McVay fan because I met him when I was younger, and I think he's just an awesome dude. I just think, like you said, the Rams absolutely beat the shit out of the Cardinals. Regardless of the final score, they destroyed them. And the Cardinals are an extremely good team. Very, very good. So they're playing hot right now, and they're peaking in an aspect. It's just something about playoff Tom, dude. There's just something about playoff Tom. It's like, it doesn't matter how good they are. It doesn't matter who he just knows the game. At the end of the day, it's a game. Football's a game. At the end of the day, it's a sport. It's a business. It's this and that. It's a livelihood. It's a game. At the end of the day, it started off as a game. It'll always be a game. And Tom knows how to play the game. And Stafford is disgusting, and Sean McVay is disgusting. But Stafford's he's played in, besides this season, he's played including this season, he's played in 3 playoff games his whole career. He's 1-2. Okay. There's an experience and comfortability aspect that he doesn't have. And I'm not saying he doesn't have the skill. I think Stafford's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I think he makes throws that are some men on this planet could never make, even in a video game. But he's never played in a game of this caliber. He's going to go into a hungry Tampa Bay Stadium who wants another ring because the Lightning just won back-to-back, so they want to win back-to-back. Yeah. And it's playoff Tom's got that swagger, man. I think it's going to be close, and I would not be surprised in the least if the Rams won, even if the Rams pull them out. Somehow they got an early lead. I can't go against playoff Tom, man. I just can't. I got to go Bucs. I'm very intrigued to see what Zach's about to say, though.
Yeah, so I'm a Patriots
Zach,
fan.
by the way, Dane, is a Patriots fan who also loves
Yes. Yeah, I just will follow Tom Brady until the day that man stops playing football, but we'll probably keep following him even after he's done. But given that, I'm more scared of this game in the sense of the ambiguity. Yeah, that's still left in the air from the Rams last game. Although they played and executed their game plan to a T how they wanted to, I felt like it was more so as a failure for what Cliff Kingsbury did with that offense. Like, you have Kyler Murray, you had that offense, and you literally couldn't string any drive together. They fell for every trick Sean McVay ran at them. Like, they were not ready for that game. It just looked like they were not prepared for that. So if they would have played really well, then I would have been more scared. But at the same time, like, I know Tom Brady's going to rise up to any given occasion. Like, I don't care if he's literally leading the Detroit Lions against the NFC like all-star team or like all-pro team. Like, I would still have confidence in him leading them to a victory. Bucs with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, they already lost early in the year, but like Dane said, definitely not the same team anymore. I think the Bucs are going to pull it out, though. I think the smart thing to do would be to force the ball into Matthew Stafford's hands, force him to make the mistakes that he's had. Because we've seen games this year where he's thrown like unacceptable picks, like just playing like rookie mistakes that he's made at times when forced to make a big play. So give your defense a chance to make him make mistakes. And then when Tom has the ball, let him game manage, let him slow the game down to where you can get Lenny involved. I mean, you have playoff Lenny back, use him. One of the big things lost was they weren't going to a lot of checkdowns because they only had Bernard and Keyshawn Vaughn, and Keyshawn's hands aren't really like solidified in the pros yet, but Lenny's are, and he can run in between the tackles. And you got Gronk, you got Mike Evans, use your weapons where you have them. So I got the Bucs winning this time around. Obviously, never going to go against them, but the Rams are going to put up a great fight.
The only thing I have to disagree with you with, Zach, is saying that Cliff Kingsbury did a bad job coaching. Because if you watch the game, dude, there was nothing. Like, Von Miller and Aaron Donald were just destroying the offensive line. Like, it wasn't even a matter of what play calls Cliff had. Like, Kyler would get the ball and then would just get destroyed instantly. Like, it didn't even matter at that point. They just started doing rollout passes in the second quarter because the pressure was so immense.
Yeah, there was just some instances and plays that I watched where I was just kind of confused because, I mean, they were running stunts a lot with Donald up the middle and Vaughn on the outside. But, I mean, when you're dropping back in shotgun in your own 2-yard line and you're waiting on a 10-yard out route from your slot receiver, like, that's got to take time to develop. You got to know you can't call that in that situation, knowing those men are up front. And it forced them into a pick six I can't remember if that was a goal by 2 or 3 scores, but I mean, obviously, look, hindsight's always 2020. You can look back and make changes and see where the mistakes were made at the time. I just feel like that was a Sean McVay masterclass, and he made Cliff Kingsbury look less than what like we saw throughout the regular season.
What do you think about that, Dan?
I agree with that. It's a lot of people don't understand, like, you went up front, on both sides of the ball, and the way the pressure the Rams were getting, just it disrupts everything. When you're playing on the defense that gets pressure up front, it makes everything easier, makes everything, the ball's got to come out fast. Like you said with that pick six, that thing put them up 3 scores towards that goal line. And it's just like, it makes the game more fun on defense because you're going to make plays. And so for the Cardinals not to be able to make plays because of that pressure, that's the game. And I feel like it is on, like, that's not on coaching, but like Zach was saying, there are some plays that were questionable things, but the D line up front, if they can win, that helps the team immensely. So that's another aspect I'm worried about, with the Rams, because the offensive line, Tristan Wirfs coming from Iowa, he's banged up. I think they say earliest he'll practice is Friday, and just other than that, offensive line is pretty healthy, but on those edges, that's when the pressure comes into Tom's face. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to see for sure.
It's gonna be very fun, strategic. I feel like it's gonna be a lot of. It's gonna be a very big coaching matchup versus where like the Rams were able to just manhandle the Cardinals. I feel like it's gonna be a lot more strategic aspect to this. What are you about to say, Zach?
I like how you brought up the situation with Tristan Wirfs, because if you watch the end of the Bucs-Eagles game, even though like they got blown out, when Tristan Wirfs went out, the Eagles got a lot of pressure and they got all their sacks after he's out. I mean, there's a reason the kid got an all-pro selection. Like, the dude balled out. He's a complete lockdown at the right tackle position. So I am a little worried if he can't play. If he can't play, the game plan is – I feel like the game plan really rides on him kind of, because if he's out, you're not going to be trying to set up all these deep shots. You got to stick to the short pass, get the ball out of Tom's hand quick, because you definitely don't want Aaron Donald sitting on him, and you definitely don't want Von Miller trying to strip him from his blind side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speaking on Wirfs, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be very genuine right now. When we got him, I was not too excited. I really wanted the Louisville kid. I thought the Louisville kid was the next big deal.
Yeah.
And we got Wirfs, and obviously, dude, I am so grateful that the Bucs got him. He's been better than what I thought he could even do. And then I looked into it, and I figured out the reason why the kid's so nasty. He was a 2-time state champ wrestler in high school.
He was.
Like, bro, a big guy that knows how to use their hands and feet like that, that's literally like a cheat code. Like, because you already know his footwork and his eye-hand coordination is elite just because of the wrestling, and he's not scared to get physical, and that's definitely something. I mean, obviously, I'm on a better standpoint than I do, Dane, but I'm just saying from a watching perspective and as someone that's wrestled and fought my whole life, it's like, that's definitely a factor that's got to help him for sure.
Oh, definitely. And just his athleticism in general is ridiculous. Like when he was in the combine, he set like 2 combine records for like offensive linemen, was like vertical and broad or things like that. He's just a crazy athlete in general. And like you said, for him to know those, like how to use his hands and things like that, it was, he was there my freshman year in Iowa, and it was just crazy to like, you knew nobody was going to give pressure on that side. And just like how solid he was to control that offensive line on that side was crazy. And when you talk about wrestling, so the center we have coming out now, Tyler Linderbaum, he was a wrestler too. And him and Tristan Wirfs used to fight, in high school. And I think Tristan beat him most of the time, but Tyler Linderbaum pinned him. It's a viral video on Twitter. He pinned Tristan in high school and went crazy. So, like you said, those wrestlers that play offensive line, they're very athletic. They know how to use technique, and, they're definitely good.
Yeah, and I think Tristan definitely shocked everyone because, like, there was a lot of pressure on him when he first got there because it was Tom Brady's first year. And to be honest, the O-line for the Bucs was not that good. So there was a lot of pressure on him to be good right away, which is usually when you get a young offensive lineman like that, it's kind of like a 3 to 5 year plan, like let him develop, let him get the strength. But he got in as a rookie and was impactful as hell. Like Zach said at first, like there's a confidence factor to Tom. There's a confidence factor as us as fans when he's in the game versus when he's not. That's just to show the kind of athlete and individual he is as well.
Dane, do you think, because I know we're on the topic of offensive linemen, but do you think the trenches is the most underrated aspect of football, or do you think that's the most underrated position groups in football, or do you think there's something else that doesn't get as much recognition as it deserves?
I would say it's hard to say what's the most underrated aspect or like overlooked because yes, the offensive line, defense line is overlooked just because I would say the offensive line is definitely overlooked because people say like if someone lets up one pressure, like, oh, he sucks, like he can't do his job. But you have to realize like they're doing like probably like 40 upwards of like 40 pass block sets, a game going against top tier athletes. And for you to let up one pressure, that's pretty good going against like, some superstars. But I think on the same thing, it's defensive backs. And obviously I'm a little biased because I play defensive back, but I would say that's one of the hardest positions to play just because the fact that you have to cover someone, sometimes backwards, but also not knowing what they're gonna do, and everything rides on technique and fundamentals. If you don't have that, you're not gonna be able to, cover people. And offensive line and DBs are kind of very similar because like in what they do, offensive line is going back and protecting. They can't let someone, get around them. Same thing as defensive backs. And it's like as far as like a fan's perspective, those things are like so overlooked that everyone expects them to make a play, every time the balls come to them or every time, a pass rush is happening, they expect them to block them. Other things happen like a defense line, you wish or you hope they can get around and get a sack. But at offense line and DBs, it's like you expect them to, hold up. And that's what I think, is very overlooked just because just the nature of the game, you're playing against top tier athletes, every once in a while you're going to get beat. But, offensive line is definitely an overlooked position for sure.
I like to relate offensive linemen and specialty players to MMA as in like grapplers and strikers. So like as you're younger in the sport and as you're watching like high school football or like you're a regular fan, you don't really give a shit about offensive line. It's nothing. You want to watch crazy touchdowns, crazy picks, big hits, stuff like that. And you think they'll the best receivers, the most impactful, blah, blah, blah. As you get older and as you mature and you start to learn the sport, you realize that if your offensive line is the best, it does not matter about the rest of your team because they will succeed. Your receivers are going to get open because you're going to have longer time to run your route. Your quarterback's going to have more coverage. Your running back's going to have bigger holes. So as you get older, you appreciate it more. It's in high school, it sucks when there's a good offensive line and the running back gets all the credit. And it sucks when there's stuff like that. And it goes the same way, I think, with MMA, because when you get a guy that first, if I got someone that's never watched MMA in my life and I sat him down and I watched fight, they're just going to watch knockouts. They're going to want to watch dudes knock each other out, throw crazy combos, like cool slams, stuff like that. They don't understand. But you get someone that knows the sport and they follow it and they watch a grappler, they respect it and they understand it because they're like, well, this is what he's doing. He's not getting himself in a lot of risk and he's absolutely manhandling another human being. Like he's completely controlling him. So I feel like that's how I like to relate it to myself. It's like the more older, the more mature you are and you realize it, you start to realize how more beneficial it is. And you really don't see it like that until college, honestly. I feel like even high school offensive linemen don't get enough credit sometimes. I mean, you played with one of the best offensive linemen in the country, like line-wise, a Jesuit, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
For sure.
And that produced Malik and all these other studs. It's like it's something that's very valuable that you don't see getting enough praise until the NFL when they're making freaking bread. But that's obviously different. But keeping on the NFL, I'm sorry, Zach, can you say something?
Yeah, just something real quick. So you talked about how offensive line and DBs, you go up against one-on-ones or situations along those lines about like 20, 30 times a game from a DB's perspective. And a lot of times you guys are the most slandered position on the football field. Like if you make one mistake, like people are going to go to Twitter and Instagram on your page or at you saying like, oh, you're trash, like stuff like that. So how do you deal with, have you dealt with any hate from messing up at any given time? And how do you deal with that? And do you use it as motivation at all?
Yeah, anytime you have a bad game, you can go on Twitter and obviously see that stuff all over Twitter. But it's really just, the more mature you become, it's really like, you look at some people that don't even have, social media because like they want to focus on the season and things like that. It's really, you have to channel almost, even if you have social media, you have to channel that aspect where it's like, I'm not even worried about that because I know what I have to do. Like if I had a bad game, I know what I need to correct. I know how I need to, get better for the next game. It's really all internal. And, I feel like nothing really good comes from, that type of, hate because those people couldn't do what you're doing. you know, obviously they couldn't go out and make a play. They would get beat even worse. And two, it's like they're not the ones going. It's you're the one doing it. So you have to. There's no point in worrying about what they're saying. You know, there's no point in firing back at them. It's all about how I need to get better. And you know, I feel like I've never like used that as motivation, like because at the end of the day, in my mind, I'm thinking the only people that really matter, opinion, is myself and my coaches as far as like my play. You know, if I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and my coaches feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, who cares what, you know, other people are saying and things like that. So, you know, I've never used it as motivation, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to realize nothing's good going to come from that. So it's all like internal. You know, if you have a bad game, it's really how you are going to approach that situation.
I love how you said that you're not going to take shit from people that like obviously couldn't do what you're doing. You know, they're not in your shoes.
Mhm.
And that was something like we talked about with Elijah a little bit about like the confidence factor. And like I always struggled with that. Like, especially in high school, like if someone told me I wasn't good enough to win a certain match, or like somebody told me I wasn't good enough to beat someone, I believed it. I was like, oh, you're right, you know. Or if like a rankings guy ranked me low on the internet, I'd be like, you're right. But then I obviously I grew and I matured and I kind of got that I don't give a fuck aspect like in my mind a little, you know, like you got to prove to me you're better than me. But I
Mhm.
saw a quote one time and it kind of goes exactly what you were talking about. And it said, don't take opinion from those you wouldn't go to get advice from.
Mhm.
And I think about that a lot, to be honest with you. Like, I don't listen to those that, like, I don't listen to criticism from people that I wouldn't go to help me get better, anyways. You know,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's something kind of tying in with what you said that really made me dial in a lot and kind of block out these Twitter bots and all these people that just love to talk shit and get you stirred up.
Definitely.
But going,
So
oh, I'm so sorry.
yeah, so along the lines of like what Grayson was saying, at least, we're like moving forward, you look back on things and you're able to grow and learn from it. Is there anything that you would tell yourself going back to when you first stepped on campus at Iowa, or maybe to a kid that's committing now and getting ready to go to college? Would there be any advice that you'd want to drill home to them now, or like want to really get across to them to help them be better in their not only football careers, but as like a man, like growing up out
Mhm.
of college?
Yeah, like if you
I
sat
would
down with 18-year-old Dane Belton right now, like what would you say to him?
I would just say, you know, you are the one who makes this experience the way you want it to be. And, you know, there's so many ways that so many, you know, roads that can come out of, you know, this college experience for a football player. You know, there's a lot of people who don't make it to the league. There's a lot of people who get in trouble. There's a lot of people who play and like might get to the league but barely play. But and then there's a lot of people who are successful on both the collegiate and professional level. And it's really everything you're doing is either positively affecting you or negatively affecting you. And I feel like, you know, I feel like that's what I kind of understood as a freshman. Like when I told you I wanted to come in and play, I knew there was some things I couldn't do if I wanted to make that happen, you know. And there's a lot of other people that were in my class that were doing those things because they didn't. They were like, "Oh, I'm not gonna play anyways," but that wasn't my mindset. So like, you know, if, I guess telling myself, you know, even then, so I guess I wouldn't have to go back and tell myself I already kind of felt that, but it's really just you make this experience what you want it to be. And I would tell, you know, the freshmen that because if your goal is to really get to that next level, if that's what you truly want, you're not gonna let anything get in the way of that. You're gonna do everything you possibly can to make that happen. So like whether that's, you know, not going out with your friends because you gotta, you know, finish homework so you can study more of the playbook before the next game, or you know even in the summer when you have a lot of free time, like what are you doing with that free time? All those little things accumulate and make the experience what you want. So if you really want to do something, you know, I feel like everything you do points to that. And you know that's probably the biggest advice I would give for sure.
Was there any time when you got to Iowa though that there was not a lack of confidence, but like maybe like did you have any like big slumps or big moments where you were like kind of down and you had to dig yourself out that you could recall, like anything in particular?
Oh, definitely. You know, there was a huge moment my freshman year because, you know, I sit here talking about all these things I did to try to play early, which I had the ability to do. But at the same time, I didn't start playing my freshman year until halfway through the season. And so I came in, I was like with the twos through fall camp, you know, I was making plays, learning, you know, obviously getting beat a little bit because, you know, I'm young, I'm still feeling my way out. And I feel like towards the end of my end of fall camp, I started to fall off a little bit. And the coaches started pulling reps from me. And to start the season, the first 3 weeks, actually the first 4 weeks, I was on scout team and I wasn't traveling with the team. And that was like the hardest thing because, you know, like I said, I came in to play and I hate not playing. Like I never in my life not played except for like a few games my freshman year on varsity at Jesuit. And it was like I needed to do something about it. And so I was really like you said, I was slumped. Like I was in my feelings about it. Like, man, did I make the wrong decision coming here? And I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, I'm playing football. I need to, like I said, I make the situation the way I want it to be. So on scout team, I started just like going out, giving the best look to our offense, but also making plays. And I was getting picks against, our starting offense, and the coaches recognized that. And after the 4th week, they moved me up, and then I started getting reps with the twos again, and then by week like 8 or week 7, I was starting. And it was like that big slump was really what changed my collegiate career, because I had the opportunity to like, sit back and like, man, I messed up. Like I came in with high aspirations. I wasn't able to pull through. But really what helped me was like at the end of the day, I'm playing football, the sport I love. So why not just go out there, even if it's on scout, why not just go out there and make some plays and have fun? And that's really, pulled me out of that slump and made me realize like, this is what you make of it. So
Was there a certain like conversation you had with someone, or like a certain moment, or anything in particular you could think of that helped your mental switch during that slump that really made you switch that gear or flip that switch?
I couldn't recall a specific situation. I was calling back and forth with my mom and dad, like, man, I'm like this is not where I want to be. And they're like, they were just telling me like over and over, like, you have to, trust the process. As cliche as it is, it is a process. And, not many people are able to play their freshman year, and everyone has that, they want to, but they're not able to. So they're just like, you need to do whatever you are able to do to put yourself in the best position. And then coming from that, it's just like every time I step foot on the practice field, even when I was on scout, it was just like, at the end of the day, I'm playing football. So let me go out here and enjoy, playing football, because, I love this sport. And that's really what changed for me. Just like reminding myself, like, even when I'm not where I want to be, that at the same time, I'm doing what I love. And that's, really what kind of changed it for me.
So you talk about this kind of bend, don't break mentality with whatever life's presented you. Do you feel like you've had to teach that to yourself, or was there someone in your life, whether it be your parents or one of your first coaches, that like helped instill that belief within yourself?
If I'm being honest, it almost feels like it was just natural. Like everything I did, I wanted to be the best, and like B, like I wasn't gonna like let anyone stop me from doing that. And it was just like growing up, like it was just that innate like feeling like I want to be better than you at whatever I'm doing. Even like on playground, little league football, high school football, things like that. And it was almost just like obviously like I wouldn't say someone like specifically instilled it in me. There's a lot of people in my circle that helped me keep driving, even when I didn't feel like it. So I would say like, my circle definitely influenced that, that feeling. But it was just I feel like just on me to, make something of what I was doing. And I always wanted to be the best. I always wanted to have that feeling of like success. And I feel like that just carried over.
Did having an older brother help with that too, with that hunger, like, always maybe trying to like catch up to him, or be better than him, or even learning under him?
Oh, 100%. And I always tell him this, like, and I always tell like my parents, we always bring it up. And it was like growing up, it was always because like whether I liked it or not, he was a year and a half older. He was always bigger, stronger, faster. He always had like the up on me. And that was my job. I always wanted to be better than him. And it was like, even on our levels, like in Little League, he wasn't that good in Little League. He ended up being better in high school and things like that. But on my level, I was better than him in Little League than he was, at the time. But then one on one, obviously he was stronger than me. So it's like I always wanted to be better than him. And I always like when we're not doing anything, I would tell him like, let's go outside and like play one-on-one basketball, or let's go outside and throw routes, just like to do something. Because even when we weren't competing, I wanted to see how he was doing things, or like I wanted to like see him do it. Like say we were, he was a quarterback, I was a receiver. I wanted to see the way he threw the ball, and then I'd be like, all right, let me go to quarterback, and then I would try to go throw better than him, even if he didn't know that. And I would always joke with him now, like he was really like one of the biggest reasons I am this way. Just like wanting to seeing someone in my life so close to me that I wanted to be better than. It was just like, and that probably was a big thing that instilled that, that passion in me.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in, and you see that in success when it's a big difference of your father being hard on you and your brother being hard on you. When your father's hard on you, it's more of a chore, it's more of a job, it's more of like, oh, he's on my ass again. But I feel like when it's your brother, and obviously, like I said, this is all just my opinion on what I've seen. I don't have a brother, I can't relate to it personally. But when it's your brother, it's more of like, all right, he's doing it out of love. He's doing it out of care. He doesn't want me to make the failures that he made, stuff like that. And it's more of like a look up to. And I'm not saying that a father can't do that for you. I just think that the relationship with a brother is a lot different when you're learning from him rather than a father. And I've seen it all the time growing up with kids around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like you said, like when you're young, you don't realize why your dad, is saying this and that. But once you mature, you start to feel that. But like early on, like you feel like your brother, like even if he might be like trying to like get on you, like when you're younger and things like that, or like roast you, whatever. Like it's more like when you're young, you don't understand the world as much, so you kind of see that more as love than as what you might see, your parents as, and just him being in my corner, just growing up, like playing all the sports, doing everything together. It was like whenever, like even now after games, we'll call and I'll just talk to him about like, because he'll watch the games and we'll just talk about it and like what he saw. And like, obviously he's not on the same level as far as like understanding the game, because like I'm in college and he's coaching high school right now, but he knows the game, at the end of the day, and I trust what he's saying, and like we bounce, talks off each other and things like that. So even building off that, childhood relationship, I still go and talk to him and just like see what he has to say, outside of my coaches, outside of my parents, just seeing what my brother has to say about, what my game and things like that.
Yeah, coming because I have a brother as well, but he's the younger brother to me, and I don't know if this works the same for you, but I hated losing. Like I could handle losses in most things, but when it came to losing to my brother in anything, whether it be video games, sports, I didn't take it very well. But I feel like the biggest takeaway was it taught me how to deal with losing from my brother first before I lost in anything else. Do you feel like having that brotherly competition not only helped push you, but it helped you deal with understanding how to take losses and how to move on from losses?
I would say it did, but in the fact that it just made me realize that I hate losing. Like you said, like we hate losing, and like when you lost for so long, because like he had all the ups on me, it was like almost inevitable that he was gonna win, and it was like that just made me more hungry that like eventually he's not gonna beat me, like ever again he's not gonna beat me, and that's what like made me feel like I'm losing right now, but it's just made me like that hunger like to keep going like after a loss. A lot of people like sit back after a loss and be like, man, that sucks, like I'm never gonna be back to what I was, but like no, like after you lose, it's like it's just that next challenge that like I got to come back. I got to make the next play in the next game. I got to overcome this loss so I can win the next one. You don't want to lose two back to back. You don't want to lose 3, 4, 5 back to back. You want to, after a loss, you want to come back and win that next one. So I feel like that's what really instilled in me. Like even if he beat me, it's like, man, I don't want to ever have this happen again. So I'm gonna just keep working harder until it doesn't.
So piggybacking off that hunger aspect, what are you most excited for and hungry about when it comes to playing in the NFL when you get that opportunity?
Oh, just being able to make plays that I am now, but just on that next level. Because it's a higher level of athletes. They're the top tier athletes in the world when it comes to football, and being able to say that like I make plays. I'm a football player, but not just a football player. I make plays and do things to help a team win at the highest level possible. That's what it comes down to. Like that's my goal, like to be a top tier athlete in the world, and for me to be able to be in this position, is great. But like I want to get there and start making plays. I don't just want to be a player. I want to be a playmaker. So like that's just what excites me. Being able to up my game even more.
If you were to sit down right now and sign, let's say, a signing bonus of like $1 million, what's the first thing you're buying with that $1 million?
Oh man, I've had this talk in the past like a couple weeks for a while, and it's crazy because like there's so many things to buy, but at the same time, I'm a real frugal person, and like a lot of people in my inner circle say this, that like I don't like to spend money. I like to like save money, and but recently I've been looking at like a Tesla, and just because like being on that frugal part, I want an electric car because it's gonna save me money, but also Teslas are like sporty in a way, like they're really fast, 0 to 60.
They
They
got a
have
luxury aspect to them too.
exactly. So like I've been looking at Teslas, and that might be the first purchase. But other than that, obviously you got to get an apartment, things like that. But outside of that, I'm a real frugal person. Like I might spoil myself every once in a while, but I do like to save money. So it'll probably be the Tesla.
Well, the good thing about getting like an apartment or a house, something like that, like if you buy it, like that value will never change. Like, yeah, it might change a little bit, but a house that you just always flip, like obviously worst case scenario, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's not enough people teaching these kids how to properly manage their money. You know, you hear Shaquille O'Neal talk about it when he first got his first million, he blew it in like 30 minutes. You know, and he's like, there's not enough people that are doing that. And it's nice to hear that you got a mature head on your shoulders to realize what you need and what you don't need. You know, what's a necessity versus a toy. You know,
definitely.
But
Speaking of,
yeah, Zach, you go.
yeah, speaking of necessities and toys, will you buy the first Madden that you star in?
I feel like I have to, you know, that's like a rite of passage, you know, being able to get to that level. And like, you know, by the time I got to college, I didn't have the, you know, the NCAA anymore. So being able to get to where, you know, people make a video game with you in it, you know, that's just crazy.
Well, you're kind of technically in the NCAA game if you get updated rosters.
That is true. I've had people send me that, you know, send me those updated rosters, but like, it's kind of crazy because like I used to love Madden, and like I always played it up until like my freshman year in college. And it's like lately, like when you know how like people react to like certain plays and like play the game and it doesn't happen, it kind of like frustrated me. So I had to stop. But you know, I definitely would have to get the Madden, and that would be almost a surreal moment, that knowing that like you played with people, like played with like professional athletes like on the game, and then now like you're the person in the game that people play as, and that'd be a crazy moment for sure.
What do you think you'd be rated right now if you were going into the rookie year?
So I know they rate rookies really low, and so like the top rookie might, like this past year they rated them kind of high as far as rookies. They were like 80 for a couple of them, but usually like the first rounds be like 76. So I feel like for me they might put me around like a 70. I feel like just a baseline. You know, obviously something you got to work for, but you know I feel like there's certain statistics they have to, you know, put high without, you know, it might not affect my overall, but you know some things like ball skills, like just things like that, like recognition, play recognition, stuff like that. I feel like I should be high in those.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you seen your overall now, like in college, like from the updated roster? Like, do you know what you're rated now in NCAA?
I'm not particularly sure. I know like over the past couple of years, people have sent me a few, but I know that they might have varied.
So, what do you think? If you were to give yourself an overall rating right now in NCAA, just like at the college level, what would you give yourself?
Okay, so I did see someone tag me on Instagram, like an NCAA account that they were doing like their rankings. They had me at 93, and I feel like that's pretty fair. I feel like that's pretty fair coming, you know, after 5 picks, you know, some tackle for losses, 7 pass breakups. You know, I feel like I deserve to be in the 90s, and I feel like 93, 94, that's not bad. You know, I feel like I would definitely take that.
Yeah, I mean, from that sense, you're literally a star player. Like when you're on the field, there's literally a star under your name, and we're like, all right, I'm not throwing as bad guy anymore. Like I'm focusing this side of the field from now on.
So before we get you going, I got one more question for you. All right. Do you think right now you could beat, if you played by yourself, a 4th grade football team, 1 versus 11?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me how bad you think you'd beat them and like what.
Yeah, a 4th grade. How old are they? Like
that's like
9 grade, like 9.
Like
yeah,
9 to 10. Yeah.
There's no way they could. I'm just like, yeah. I would beat them probably like, it depends like how long the game goes. You know, I feel like I would beat them. It's too bad. They'd have to stop. Like, I just feel like they couldn't tackle me. You know, they might tackle you eventually after like 30 yards and get you down, but then you go the next play and do it again. You know, I feel like the only thing that could really stop you is the fatigue level. But as far as like physicality, you know, I feel like I would definitely beat them.
I think defense is a lot easier than offense because you can just bum rush the quarterback and stop the snap. But if 11 little jits are jumping on you, they're going to get you down eventually.
That's true. I feel like if they gave you someone to snap you the ball in like shotgun and then they're dead,
you should juke it off them.
Yeah, you just like, or just like stiff arm all of them. If you like put your hand out, they're not. You just have to run to the outside and try to attack the corner, and then you're down. So yeah, I would definitely beat him for sure.
Wait, I think the most important thing to ask though is, would you take it a little easier on him, or would you just like stiff arm it in the earth? Like, would you just like not care at all? Like, just absolutely like make him never want to play football again?
I'm definitely going all out. Like, they're gonna have to realize that
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have to. Like I'm like what we said earlier. I hate to lose no matter who it's to. And if I gotta put some kids in the dirt, like I'm gonna have to do it. And they just I don't know, they got to wash their clothes later, but it's just gonna happen for sure.
Yeah, I would easily buy a $150 pay-per-view to watch that. Easily.
If you truck sticked a fourth grader into like 20 yards away, I think that would make my entire year.
No,
Just
but
like I
not
would
a
never have to
fourth
watch
grader, 11 of them in a row.
Yeah, just in a row.
Just in a line.
That'd be crazy.
But hey, Dane, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, man. We hope nothing but the best for you, even as a friend, man. You're always welcome back whenever you want to be on. We appreciate it. I had a great time talking to you. Thanks for coming on, man. We hope nothing but the best, and hopefully you can get drafted at the Bucs. It'd be pretty fucking awesome.
Yes, sir. I enjoyed my time, man. Appreciate y'all having me.
Of course. Yeah, we're definitely getting that Dane jersey when you get drafted.
Yes,
so we'll be repping Belton.
To get signed.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, wait. I got one more thing. If you were to get drafted, what number do you want to wear on your back when you get to the pros? What number do you want to see on your jersey?
I feel like now I've kind of built like this feeling for number 4. You know, before, like even in high school, I was 5. And the only attachment I had to 5 was my older brother was 5 in high school for the 2 years that I wasn't in high school. And then I got there and, I wanted 5. And then in college, I got 4. And like, it was just a random number. I thought it looked cool. But now, it's a good number. I feel like it fits me. But honestly, like if I were to get in the NFL and I couldn't get 4, I wouldn't be mad. It's not like those people who like pay for that number. I would definitely, probably get like a 20s number or something like that. But if I had the option, it would definitely be 4.
As long as it's not something ugly like 37. Like I don't want to see you in like a 37 or 38.
So
yeah, double digits are off limit.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Dan. Really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Best of luck, bro.